It's now just coming up to 18 to 4 Jazz Radio 94.1 FM, and it's time now to talk to one of our great young singers, ELLY HOYT. ELLY, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks very much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Now, ELLY, you've already started off with a bang in your career. Now, how did you get started?
Well, I was originally from Tassie, and so I was performing in front of a big band at about 13, 14, and that had a patron, Don Burrows, and I always looked up to all the sort of the jazz musos, especially James Morrison, and it happens that he has a scholarship for both instrumentalists and singers that started only a few years before I came through. So by I think it was the fourth or fifth year of having this vocal scholarship, I was able to win it and therefore kind of get my foot in the door in terms of what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's so important to have mentors and people like James Morrison helping you, isn't it?
It is. I think for anyone, I guess in jazz especially, there's a lot to do with mentorship and having someone to guide you, and he has been that, but also other people like John Hoffman, who has really taken me on and taught me so much in what I do and in the craft that I have.
And you do work with some great musicians. You work with, I think, people like Don Burrows and various other great musicians.
Yeah.
Do they pass off hints and tips on how to improve?
They do. They really do. I think just playing with them, you'll learn certain things. I think sort of doing what I do, especially jazz, and it's such an improvised sort of art. You know, you've got a lot of things that can go wrong. It's not, a lot of the time I walk into a band and I haven't rehearsed at all, so I've got to walk in and be able to lead the band. So you understand, as a young performer coming through and not knowing some things, you have to learn it on the day. So when you stuff up, you go, okay, I'm not going to make that mistake. So you ended up having, learning those lessons yourself, but also having other people sort of say, hey, these are the guidelines, these are the rules, and things not to do, things to do, kind of thing.
Well, I was speaking to one of our great singers yesterday, Vince Jones.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, Vince was telling me that one of the things he feels is very important is to practice every day.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
I do. I teach a bit at the moment, and I find a lot of that teaching is good for me in terms of what I do know and what I don't know, but I'm generally practicing most days. But I would love to be able to step away a bit more and be able to just not teach at all and just practice my art and my craft and even get better and better if I had that liberty.
Well, how about making and recording CDs? How difficult is it to get CDs into general release?
Well, I'm only new at it, I have to admit. Coming through, it's been an interesting process for me because I've just recorded my debut album, and you've got a lot of things to consider. So you've got to think about, okay, to start with, who is your audience? Are you going to be doing original stuff? Are you going to be doing just straight ahead standards? Are you going to be doing crazy improvised kind of stuff? So then you kind of look at that and then you go, okay, well, okay, that's what I'm going to market for then. Who's going to distribute it? Who's going to buy it, kind of thing. So luckily I've been able to find a label, an independent label up here, Pinnacles, who's taken me on and paid for a lot of that to help me distribute it. But as in an artist that doesn't have that funding, you probably have to fund yourself, especially in the style of jazz and that genre. It's an interesting one. I don't have all of the knowledge, but I'm sort of, learning as I go.
Yeah, I guess picking the tracks that you're going to play, they have to be chosen very carefully, and you'd be tempted to choose some of the safe tracks that everybody knows, the standards.
Yeah, definitely. Like for me, it was very much like, okay, if no one knows who I am, it's, and people do listen jazz as standards, they would know. So for me it was very much like, okay, well, I'll do quite a few standards, ones I don't know, ones I do know, but also a couple of originals, and then I did an arrangement of a crowded house tune, 4 Seasons in One Day. So then that was like a sort of an integration from pop to a jazz sort of style. So so you sort of, it is important because...
Well, I believe you're going to be heading off to New York in the next year or so.
Yes, I'm planning to. I'm waiting for a grant at the moment, but I'm also applying for a few more. So, the more I put in, the more chance I get to go. But, I've organised to work with quite a few people in the States as just as a student, getting private lessons and maybe audition maybe at Manhattan, but that's with sort of Gretchen Parlato and different people. And I even was able to hang out with Kurt Elling's piano player last weekend, and he sort of said he'd give me a few lessons as well. So it's sort of looking up. I'm really excited.
Yeah, you've got to do a bit of networking. Now you're going to be performing on the Gold Coast this weekend. Tell us exactly what's happening.
I'm performing with the Queensland Conservatorium big band. It's called the Con Artists, and it's run by John Hoffman. And that's a fantastic big band. It's been the best big band I've played with over the years, and they're sort of guys that are coming through the con, and we'll be playing at Southport Yacht Club on Sunday, Arvo. And it should be a lot of fun. And John Hoffman is, he's amazing as a mentor, as a musical director, and also as a person and musician. So it's worth coming out to.
Yeah, that should be a great afternoon at the Gold Coast City Jazz Club, Southport Yacht Club, 1 to 4:30 p.m. And Ellie, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon, and we hope you have a great time here on the Gold Coast and enjoy Sunday afternoon at the Yacht Club.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
That's a pleasure. That's ELLY HOYT talking about her music, and wonderful young singer, great young talent. I've got a track from her to play right now.